It's a good thing we are powered by BetUS tonight because it is not a good evening. You are joining us because the Buffalo Bills have been soundly defeated by the Baltimore Ravens 35-10. I am your host, Greg Tompsett, joined by my obligatory partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, how are we doing?
Honestly, I'm in a much better mental state already. I've already processed this loss because we had that 11 minute of game time
Oh my God,
stretch of
there's such a weird amount of time where like the game was definitively over.
just over, wrap it up.
Uh,
Yeah, no, so I've processed a lot of what, and honestly, I joke around about being obligated to be here, but I'm happy to be here, Greg. This for me, I don't know how our fans feel. For me, this is how I heal from games like this. It's all fun and games when we win and we get to come on and do memes and joke around and stuff. But I think these are the more important shows, at least for me, in getting my mental headspace to be able to go to bed tonight. It's still tough for
yeah,
me when the Bills lose.
yeah, I don't love it. I don't
Yeah.
love it. So kind of going through some of the different pieces here. We'll go through a few of the different items. There was obviously a few moments. There was actually a glimmer where it seemed like they might be getting back into it, and then a couple decisions that came up. But this game is going to be one where I think you'll see some blame centered in a few areas, but it was all over the place. The offensive line had been dominant the first 3 weeks. They got moved around and tossed around pretty good tonight. The defensive line had been disruptive and really impactful the first 3 weeks. They barely made an impact here. We technically, Lamar Jackson got sacked once. I don't even know how that counted. Bale Inspector technically got him there late in the game. We'll talk about that when the glimmer of hope came up. This wasn't Josh Allen's best game. He tried pretty hard to throw an interception twice, but Nate Wiggins dropped one, and the other one was broken up. Guys who normally catch the ball, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, really good hands. Both had some pretty key blocks. Sean McDermott had a couple really aggressive decisions, and then inconsistently then had some really conservative, weird decisions punting the ball. Joe Brady was being talked about as one of the best offensive minds in the league the first 3 weeks, and really came up short today. No pre-snap motion, or much less pre-snap motion, a lot less play action that I would have liked to have seen. And Bobby Babich had been, bubblegum and duct taping it together with no Milano, Bernard, and Taryn the first 3 weeks, and really got exposed in the middle tonight. So we'll go around and figure out who deserves maybe a slightly healthier slice of blame pie here, but there's an awful lot of it to go around. So who stands out the most to you, Aaron? Where's the largest slice of your frustration being handed out?
Yeah, I'd go. It starts at the top with Sean McDermott, but not necessarily. I think the narrative coming out of this game is going to be solely focused on Sean McDermott, and I think he probably gets the biggest slice of it, but mostly because he's in charge of preparation for this team and getting the coaching staff and the players in controls and ready for a game. And so it rolls uphill when you have a disaster of a game like today. But this is going to sound a little weird with the way that felt and the way the score went. This game was not the blowout that it appeared to be, at least. Now I'm going to watch it back. And you talked about that glimmer of hope period of time. This is a whole different game conversation if that trick play doesn't come up and maybe they don't score a touchdown on that drive, but if they do, it's like a 21-17 game at that point. You've already gotten two stops on defense versus them getting the ball back at midfield after a turnover and going down and scoring. It makes all the difference in the world. It was probably 4 or 5 plays. You had, to your point, there was a Kincaid drop early on that kept you from getting a first down and moving the ball and being in a position to score and not let Baltimore go up early. And then you had
That
the
Keon
other
Coleman
drop.
drop at the end of the half
Keon Coleman
easily could
drop,
have
big
gone in
one.
21-10 in a
Absolutely.
half a play we didn't deserve to be 21-10.
Yeah, trick play here is 4 or 5 plays that just, if the Bills could have got a couple of them to go their way, we're looking at a very different game. Unfortunately, it played right into the Ravens, what the Ravens want for a game script, which is getting up early, having a big chunk play, getting up on a team early, and then being able to use Derrick Henry as that kind of wrecking ball. And so the most of the blame, to answer your question, has to go to Sean McDermott, just because all the sides of the ball look terrible. Trenches look terrible for almost 3 quarters. They got going after the half. They responded well, but it was just a little too much. And then you throw in that weird trick play, and it's kind of the straw that broke the camel's back tonight. They just did just too many mistakes across the board. You didn't win your one-on-one matchups consistently enough, and it's going to happen. People are freaking out right now. Every team in the NFL is going to take a loss like the Buffalo Bills took tonight. Ravens are a good football team. This isn't one to be ashamed about. The score looks worse than it was, but it wasn't a fun night.
Yeah, and obviously, the big streak came to an end tonight. The Bills had gone 43 games without losing a game by more than 6 points or by more than a possession. That came, resoundingly to a thud tonight. This is the first time they've been blown out in over 3 seasons, which is a good thing. I mean, that's a great remarkable accomplishment that they had been in every game, but also maybe it gives them, maybe they needed kind of a wake-up call here. There was an awful lot of flowers being thrown at them. They were number 1 in pretty much everybody's power ranking after the first 3 weeks. Josh Allen was easily the MVP favorite, so maybe they needed a little bit of a wake-up call here.
Also need to be humbled a little bit. I feel like I needed a little bit of humbling over this 3-0 stretch. I think Nick Wright was right. We give him a hard time for how he speaks about the Bills, and I think some of it is trolling and doing his job for TV, but I think he's actually a very smart guy. And he came on this week and said, he thought people analyzed the Bills losing Stephon Diggs and that they were still going to be a good team because of Josh Allen. But then he thought with this 3-game stretch that people are probably overcorrecting a little bit the other way, that, now they're back and they're back to being the best in the NFL. I'm also included in that overcorrection. And that they would come back a little bit over these next 3 stretches, and that they are one of the better teams in the AFC, but they're not standing way above the rest, and they still have flaws, and they can have games like this.
Yeah, and obviously there's some things that go, there was frustration because the Chargers easily could have beat the Chiefs earlier today. A lot of people watched that.
So
the Chiefs
right
are
now.
A very flawed 4-0, but they're 4-0. So it is what it is. And I had the same comments for a lot of our folks in the Cover One Discord channel, kind of going through, and that honestly not that much matters for the Chiefs until January. It doesn't matter how they look now. It doesn't matter how they do. And sadly, it kind of applies to the Bills too. I mean, don't listen to me, because
it's
I
better
host
when
a
you
show
just keep
that
winning.
that we talk about twice a week. So please continue to listen to us twice a week.
Yes.
But not all that much really matters. Between now and then, this is purely going to be, what do you achieve in the playoffs? There's no,
as long as it doesn't turn into a skid of some kind.
No, don't get me wrong.
Onesie,
there are
twosies.
things. Yeah, there are things that could matter, but I'm saying that because it's not going to. This is not going to fall off the rails and miss the playoffs. They're a good team. They're going to get guys like Bernard and Taron Johnson back, and hopefully Matt Milano back, and that will make a huge difference in games like tonight, where they completely expose the middle of that defense, and missing all those guys there. That will make a huge difference in some of those things, and all the misdirection and everything they were showing. But ultimately, we're in that tier of team now that, games like tonight are humbling, they're frustrating, but ultimately, even if they won tonight, that's not going to accomplish anything. They don't give out trophies for being 4-0. It doesn't actually do anything. So it's just a harsh reminder of kind of the phase we're in as a franchise build, that we just kind of have to keep positioning ourselves right, hopefully not lose any more players to injury, stack up wins when we can, but they're 3-1 after the quarter pole mark. This is how it works.
What did we say on Wednesday, Greg? We got on here and said, hey, they're playing with a little bit of house money by going 3-0, right? So you went into it with a little bit of extra, and we both, I think, agreed that if you were going to drop out of this stretch coming up, it was Ravens, Texans, Jets. Those are 3 big games and what everybody's calling tests for the Bills. And you probably weren't going to sweep that stretch, right? You probably weren't going 3-0 throughout if we're being realistic. If you were going to drop a game, we said it. This one's the one to drop. Not in this manner, right? Not at that score.
Correct. Not getting smacked around like they did at both lines of scrimmage.
Doesn't feel great. But if you're going to get smacked around by any team in the NFL, this is the kind of team that can do it, especially if you get behind on them. Like, the Ravens are a really good team. Statistically, they're going to grade out. DVOA, they are in the top right there with the Bills. Like, this was a heavyweight fight, and you got punched in the mouth by a heavyweight at home and couldn't recover. That's not, you're hanging your head right now, but that's like the kind of loss that you want on a schedule. You don't want the ones where it's like the Bills previous years where they're like dropping a game to the Giants or the Broncos or something like that, where they're on the fence against some of these teams. These are the games where if you're going to take an L, man, take it to one of the best teams in the NFL. And we got it out of the way, Greg. Now you don't have to take this L in the playoffs. You know that.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Good. I'm glad we got that out of the way. And yes, it's all the week to week league comments. The Bengals look great this week. They also lost to the Commanders and almost lost to the Panthers. They let the Panthers back in that game. The Jets lost to the Broncos today. The Jaguars, who we destroyed, almost beat the Texans today. It's there's a lot of different stuff like that going around. Let's go through a little bit of the game itself. Obviously,
we've got to do at least a drive of the game somewhere in here, right?
Yeah, yes.
We've got to find one.
And there's a genuine, deserving drive of the game. So some of the high points we talked about: Josh Allen, 16 to 29, 180 yards, no touchdowns, passing or rushing. First time I can remember that in forever. The only touchdown today was scored by Ty Johnson. By far the most pedestrian James Cook game of the season. We had a scare with both Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid. As of right now, I think we survived those.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm guessing that Khalil's ankle isn't going to feel awesome on the flight home. So we'll see how that goes. But it seems like we survived. He was back in there quite a bit. When you take that tape off and you fly home, that's going to swell up nasty. He's probably going to be, if you guys see, reports of a walking boot or something like that, those are often precautionary, but he's not going to feel awesome. I can promise that.
Yeah. And then you ultimately Rapp with a concussion.
Yeah, Taylor Rapp out with a concussion. Seems like most of the rest of the stuff checked out fairly decent. But the offense tonight was by far the most disappointing offensive performance.
Yeah, nothing really great, pretty pedestrian. Just unlike what we've seen out of them this year in terms of you had opportunities, Greg. Like right when we start getting into these drives, like plenty of them had opportunities and just like we keep saying drops and just mistakes or pressures getting down that hadn't been getting to him in the past and just them heating him up and blitzing at the right times. Bill's just not able to have all the answers like they've had easily the past couple of weeks. It just felt like both sides of the ball, the Ravens coaching staff was 2 to 3 steps ahead of the Bills almost at every turn.
Yeah, and that's a first that we've seen so far. And that, defensively, again, I'm going to give Bobby Babich a little bit of a pass. We talked about it in the preview show. This was setting up to be a very challenging test because of how strong they are up the middle, and that we had been able to kind of bubblegum and duct tape our way through, having to start Balen Spector and Dorian Williams and Cam Lewis, and all three of them were exposed in different moments. Today, Cam Lewis, I saw multiple times in the right position, but I noticed him in the right position because he didn't make the tackle and missed the tackle, and the guy kept going. Dorian Williams, again, a very normal Dorian Williams game, looked pretty good against the run, got exposed multiple times in pass coverage. Balen Spector was fine, but again, also got run on repeatedly.
I was gonna say, he got pushed around 8 to 10 yards back on a few of those big run plays. Just finds a way to get stuck on some blocks. Like
a lot of those Preston Brown tackles. I remember those Preston Brown tackles back in the day, those 8 to 10 yard tackles down the field when we're getting it shoved down our throat.
It's tough, man. Yeah, and honestly, even Cam Lewis, I think, had some struggles in pass coverage as well, which he's been pretty solid in so far. That first half, this is where I wish you were talking about wishing we had Prime Vision. A game like today would have been an opportunity where Prime Vision, I think, probably tells the story of the game on both sides. In the first half, everything wide open for Lamar, almost seemingly at will, big pockets in the zone, which is so unlike the Bills, even with guys that are, backups and stuff like that, that the zones are usually tighter and there's usually somebody within 5 yards of somebody when the pass is
there were a couple gaping holes that I don't even know how guys we didn't even have a defender in the screen on some of them. It was weird.
And then you see the other side where Josh is just like holding on to the ball, run to the sideline and just throwing it away. So I think that's probably the tail of the tape is outside. Obviously we saw the line of scrimmage getting dominated, at least in the first half. Ravens won both sides there, but and somebody pointed out when we're talking about defense, too much Nicholas Morrow in the first half, like him being on the field a little too often. I didn't love that, Greg.
I think they tried to match because of how much they were using the multiple tight ends and Patrick Ricard, who's basically like another offensive lineman in the backfield. So matching with base makes sense strategically. The fact that we're in a position where that needs to be a person named Nicholas Morrow
Right.
is a challenge.
It's tough.
So it's just the position we're in right now. We're just so shorthanded in that area, and I'm not going to make an excuse. That's not why we got our butts kicked.
No.
But it was a concern coming into the game, and
they
then
exposed it.
obviously they exposed it, blatantly
Yeah.
in the spot that they were in. So,
Yeah.
And before we jump in to go through the drive by drive, I want to share. I think that our friends over at BetUS are actually trying to help. Maybe not put us out of our misery yet. I was looking to see. So I was going to go, if anybody wants to make a wager on maybe the Jets winning the division or the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, I was going to share some odds that you could look into to be able to help with. Because I was actually looking at next week's lines to see, have they put anything up yet? Have they shared anything? So if you go on there, you can use YouTube 150 is their promo code. You get up to $2,000. You can match 150% on your first deposit up to $2,000 and 125% of the second and third deposits. Fastest payouts in the business, super easy to use format, great platform, and we've been happy to be partners with them. And I was looking to see if they had the Houston Bills game up yet, and they don't yet. So I'll be watching to see, because again, as I said earlier, the Texans actually looked pretty pedestrian earlier, but we'll see where that goes, because obviously tonight looked pretty rough in for the Bills. So no major injury, like quarterback injuries, obviously the things that move lines, nothing there. So it's going to be at Houston. I'm expecting something similar to today, where it was -2.5 for Baltimore. I expect Houston to be probably -2.5, maybe -1.5 instead. But I expect them to be a slight favorite with us going down there, but less than the home field advantage. Somewhere around 1.5 is my guess. What do you think the line will be for Bills at Houston?
Yeah, I think it'll probably come down as it goes. I think it'll play out pretty much like this weekend. It should. I think these are those top teams, and you can't respond necessarily to this week's games. And in terms of setting the line, I think that this game should be treated in the same way that this past Ravens game was. These are the top teams in the AFC, and you're traveling on the road. And I do expect the betting line probably will have the Bills come down a little bit. The one I'm going to be interested to see is what shifts between Lamar and Josh in that MVP one when those futures come out. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, there'll be a couple. They only have the Monday night teams up for the future stuff and those different pieces. So we'll see once those wrap up tomorrow where it goes with the division odds and some of the different pieces. But again, check out our friends over at BetUS. Use promo code YouTube150. Get 150% bonus up to $2,000 in your first deposit, 125% on your second and third deposits. Or if you're out already on the season, you can make some money that way and bet on other teams to be able to go through there. All right. Are you ready to go through the drives?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're obligated to. So you mentioned McDermott, and obviously we spend a lot of time kind of explaining or even defending McDermott at some points here. The first drive, I was like, all right, I like it. We know that Baltimore is going to test us on defense. So we got, it was 5 yards to Kincaid, no yards to Shakir, then a scramble for Josh, and he did slide a little bit.
Shakir caught it, breaking history.
Yeah, correct. The first two catches, actually. So the most consecutive targets with being caught in NFL history all the way back. So got it up over 30. I think did it get to 31?
I think I don't know where it ended.
Might have ended at 30. We'll look and see which one it was. And then Josh was marked down, so it was 4th and short. And this is, that's basically 3 and out because you're at your own 39. Mm-hmm. So that's not automatic at any point. But we're aggressive. We go for it. We go out there with the snowplow. It works perfectly. We get 3 yards. We keep moving our way down. James Cook gets 8 yards on the first down. Second and short, I don't mind. Second and short's fine to run the ball. I like second and short shot plays because you kind of get an easy, free shot play because you can come back on 3rd and 2. But we run the ball with Davis. There's no gain. And then incomplete to Kincaid. I don't know if it'll be graded as a drop, but it was certainly a catchable ball. And then, so it's 4th and 2 at midfield. Yeah. And how do we go for it on 4th and 1 at our own 39, but at midfield at 4th and 2, now we punt? I'm just, the frustration is I like to tell myself that they have like some rules and some analytics to tell them when we should and shouldn't go. Well, nothing changed between 4th and 1 and 4th and 2. Whatever our math was is that if you're going for it, if 4th and 2 is still, so it's not like it was 4th and 4. That's usually where the line starts to come into play, where it shifts a little bit. 4th and 1, 2, or 3 is pretty similar. How did that change just 2 minutes in game time earlier where it was a go and now we punted? And it's not the only time that's going to come up, but it immediately gave me some pause of, I just don't love it that means that he's just using his gut. It's not leaning into the analytics. He's just saying, well, hey, sometimes I have a feeling that we should go for it and sometimes I don't. And I don't love that it's just purely on his gut.
I don't know that we can just draw that conclusion from it without hearing what he has. I'm sure he's being pressed about it right now when he's speaking and being asked about it. Yeah, it feels terrible because it does feel like one that you would go for in the same spot. The numbers, at least from the Baldwin bot, are about the same. I think you had a higher success percentage on the 4th and 1.
Sure.
But
there's obviously a slight difference. There's got to be a slightly
the-
higher conversion on 4th and 1 versus 4th and 2, but they're both easily in that same realm. Usually the numbers get more, even on the aggressive ones, like so ESPN, Baldwin bot, and there's a third one that floats around that people use. It's usually between, once you get from 4th and 3 or lower to 4th and 4 and above is usually the line where it starts to tip.
Yep.
So it's certainly not the difference of 4th and 1 and 4th and 2.
Yeah, we don't know what their algorithm is for what
Sure.
makes those decisions
internally
for
what they
them,
do those on.
and what those conversations are. I don't think it is just solely on McDermott calling a gut instinct. He doesn't seem to coach that way, but this does continue to come up as an issue for the Buffalo Bills in games like this. I do think the opponent itself plays a factor, but like you said, you did go for it here. I don't know what this decision making behind it is. It's a mistake by Sean McDermott. I don't have an answer. I defend him a lot. I don't have a defense of this. I'm also upset with the outcome of making a decision like this early because, Greg, I texted you as soon as Baltimore deferred, Bill started moving the ball, and I'm like, that's a huge mistake. Like, This is exactly how we want this game to go. You play into our script.
Yeah, you knew the game script was critically important. Who got the first lead was critically important. Having the chance to do that, knowing that, which is why going for it on your own 39 is aggressive. Like, if you give the ball right back to them at your own 39, that's really, really a tough spot to put your defense in right off the bat. But you knew that, so you went for it. And then you even got, in theory, you got the result you wanted on the punt. You got a nice punt inside the 20. He had a fair catch it at the 13. Like, you have him at the 13-yard line. Like, that is the outcome that you wanted. And the result, obviously, whether it was a back-breaking drive or a one-play, no-touch, 87-yard touchdown run by Derrick Henry, it was the worst-case scenario of, that's why you went for it on your own 39, is because you knew they were going to expose some of our challenges on the middle of the defense. That's why you went for it. Why'd you do a 1 out of 2? It just planted a bad seed for me in my mind early on of questioning, like, what the hell?
Well, it plays right into the narrative about Sean McDermott, which is he a good enough coach to get you over this hurdle, which requires you to beat good teams like the Ravens in big situations and in primetime games. This coaching display did not help that narrative. If anything, it helped the haters to be like, see, he can't do it. He's great against garbage teams. He's great against bad quarterbacks. Cannot do anything against a good team with a good quarterback. This does not, unfortunately, play into it. One thing that is going to get lost, though, of this drive and in this conversation is that 3rd and 2. I think it's a drop. It should be counted as a drop.
I'm guessing
Allen came in a little hot with it too. Like, it's definitely, if I'm Kincaid, I'd be like, buddy, like, bring it down a little. That thing's coming in hot.
Help me out.
3rd and 2, I'm open. But still, those are the ones that Kincaid's got to catch. Like, if he's going to be that reliable wide receiver 1 security blanket, 3rd and 2 is the one you got to make, and you're wide open, and it hits you. It looked like it hit him right in the hands. Then we're not even having this conversation, right? Like that's a play that should have been executed, didn't, and I think it's gonna get lost in the shuffle about, well, one, we probably don't want to bury on Kincaid because he's a fan favorite, but also it's easier to just point the finger at Sean McDermott. But the execution led to a dumb decision in a bad spot there.
So obviously we talked about the worst case scenario, Derrick Henry, full head of steam, just chugging down the field, literally untouched.
25 miles an hour.
And I'm just, my daughter was watching with me at that time because her school bedtime hadn't come up yet. And I could like see in my peripheral her look over at me waiting to see my reaction. And I just sank my head. It just,
not great.
Awesome. Okay. All right. We're down 7-0, I guess. So the Bills get the ball back and start to move it a little bit. Again, a nice first down run by James Cook. Right back to Kincaid, which I liked. Got a completion. Another one to Cook where he moved it around. Then we had like the weird...
McGovern got spotted there. So
the weird play here where... McGovern did get landed on by Spencer Brown and then had some weird handling later on. I'm not going to guess. I'm not going to try to pretend to know how that was supposed to be handled. It seemed like there was a weird miscommunication where he and the team were told he was cleared to go back in, but it didn't get told to the referees. It didn't impact the game in any meaningful way, but it could have. It was on a third down with pressure coming and things like that. So there
on Alec Anderson be able to come in a spot.
Correct. Right? Alec Anderson came in and held his own. It had good one iffy snap. There was one iffy snap where Josh had to help him out. But it did put it at risk a little bit here. But we convert a couple of third downs. Come back from a holding penalty, actually negated another sack. That
was a weak holding penalty too. That was like an Ole kind of bowl.
A little weird. Then we get the Shakir injury, and everyone's rightfully kind of freaking out. And now we get the shot where, deep shot down the field to Keon Coleman. They would have got called back by holding anyways here. Josh scrambles, and we get a Tyler Bass 50-yard field goal, which is actually like dead center, perfect make, really, really good. And I was feeling good. I was like, all right, okay. Yeah. Not perfect. I'm a little iffy on some of the different things going on. We've had a couple injuries, but whatever.
And it's 7-3. You kind of labored to get 40 yards and walk away with a field goal on a 3rd and long. Like it felt like, man, you didn't really move the ball. Then you got just enough to get some points, but you're really laboring. Where obviously Derrick Henry had the only laboring he did was catching his breath after the 87-yard run.
Needed oxygen. Yeah. Chad here said business decisions were made by the secondary against Henry, which, like, from a physical standpoint, I don't even fault. Like, that's such an enormous man, but hey, listen,
concussed Taylor Rapp straight up.
Yeah. This is the job. Like you just what you got to do. It probably does suck, if we're being honest. Like I might make those business decisions too, but hey, that's why you make the money. That's what the money, as they say, that's what the money's for.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, any semblance we had of like, okay, well, maybe we'll have some back and forth here and can get a stop. They come right back. 9 plays, 70 yards, right down the field again. Mixed in with a really dumb Dwayne Smoot unnecessary roughness penalty.
Like
it wasn't, some horrific, dirty play. It was just dumb.
It was kind of dirty.
Dumb.
There's no
it's
point.
Just dumb. Like you weren't.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, like you weren't even gonna hurt him. Like it was like flicking some. Like what is wrong with you? Like
and you're getting pushed around the field.
Correct. It's one thing if you're dominating them and you're like a bunch of like chest pounding that you go overboard, but you're the one getting your teeth kicked in.
You're frustrated, and it was a BS move, in my opinion.
Correct. So instead, down the field, they actually have some nice misdirection, which again, Mike Tirico's great at explaining and talking about, and they get it going, and instead get an easy swing pass to Derrick Henry. Boom. Back-to-back touchdowns right down the field. And now it's 14-3, and you're kind of
just starting the second quarter down.
In another spot. You're in a tough position. And here, McGovern returned to the game. Shakir returned to the game. Then they made McGovern leave the game again. Curtis Samuel runs for 7 yards. James Cook for 2 yards. We're back at 3rd and 1. We get a short pass to Dawson Knox.
That weird RPO where
Yes,
and the end made a great play where Josh
Ojabo
thought he
made
was
a
taking.
phenomenal play.
Yeah, he just blew that up and just.
It was a read option. Josh could have give
I think it was Cook.
to James Cook. Ojabo like faked inside enough to get
I
Josh
had
to
just
keep it,
enough arm.
but jumped out again to
Yeah.
get Josh into a weird spot where he was going to get him before Josh could run for it, because it was a called run play. Like, it wasn't even
Yeah.
intended to be a pass. And then Josh realized he wasn't going to get it, flung it out to Knox, which is good on Knox for being ready and catching it and trying to get anything out of it, but gets tackled for no gain. And now you went for it on 4th and 1 at your own 39. This is another 4th and 1 at your own 39. Not only is it another 4th and 1 at your own 39, at this point, like Sean, you have new information. The new information is, hey, your defense is struggling. You are going to have to outscore them if you're going to hang in this game. And not only with that new information, your decision was not to do the quarterback sneak that we convert 92% of the time and just did earlier in the exact same spot, exact same yardage, exact same position on the field, and the new information made it more necessary to go. And now you punt again. And of course, the Ravens take that right down the field, 10 plays, 81 yards. And for all intents and purposes, now 21-3, like, the game's nearly out of reach. Like, again, there have been comebacks against the Ravens. We'll talk about the moment that we had later on. But he lost me at that one where I was then like mad. Where, okay, so now the new information you have, you don't go? I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Yeah. Did they lose a yard on the 3rd and 1? Was it 4th
No,
and 2?
it was
Or was it
right
4th and
there.
1?
I mean, I guess in theory, maybe it was a long one. It was still
Yeah,
4th
I
and
want to
1.
know,
It was
like,
statistically 4th and 1.
if I'm grilling McDermott tonight in the press conference, like, I'm really trying to push to say, like, what is your, like, okay, so is your only going for it situation is a 4th and 1 where you think the sneak's, like, where's your cutoff for running the sneak? Is the sneak the only thing you're confident in doing? Like, what are the
The
decisions that
previous
go
couple of weeks, we've had
into,
multiple 4th and 2 and 4th and
right?
3s. He had
Yeah,
a 4th and a long 3. It was almost 4th and 4
why
that he
against the
went for it.
Ravens is that changing? Those are the questions that I'm trying to grill him on. I'm sure that he's not answering them.
The
Or that
Ravens without Michael Pierce, it's not like they
Yeah.
had their 350-pound nose tackle.
Yeah, I mean, Jones is a beast, but still, you should be able to at least make the attempt to go for it here again.
And we had just done it.
Yeah.
It's not like they had stopped it. It's not like we had gotten stuffed. And he's like, all right, man, I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. They're pushing McGovern back or whatever it was. Like, I don't get it.
We got one. Yeah, I mean, they didn't win the line. Maybe it is a gut thing. They weren't winning the line of scrimmage.
They weren't.
Up throughout the game, you did get the one. And maybe that's where it comes down to, is like, hey, the analytics say it, and Sean's looking at his team and like, hey, we're not winning these spots. But this is the one where you got to kind of throw a desperation hook
Correct.
in a game like this.
You needed them to come through on it. You needed them to hear that you still had the confidence that, hey, I know we're down 14-3, but we can get back in this. Let's go for it here. And instead, they come right back. Lamar hits likely on that one where we were talking about, like, nobody was in the screen on the zone. Like, we're just likely was the only person in the screen when he caught it for 26. Couple more nice plays. Nelson, when Nelson Aguilar is making like tough contested catches, I would like to see Cam Lewis make a play on the ball. He ended up kind of flying behind Aguilar. Justice Hill comes in and is a great like change of pace running back with Henry, super explosive, and just kind of keep moving their way down the field.
Aguilar saved a interception on this drive. There was Lamar threw a duck. And
oh my gosh, Rasul Douglas was sitting there ready to catch it, and like crazy leaping ability. Also, Aguilar went up and got a finger on it and stopped, and then Justice Hill just completely shook Dorian Williams in the open field, completely got him to bite, and wide open for a touchdown. And again, 21-3. Now you're in trouble. And now the next one is the whole reason you need to go for it when it's 4th and 1, because this was just a traditional bad drive where incomplete to Hollins on first down, get it to Shakir. He went out of bounds pretty quickly, and at that point I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, he didn't try to turn up at all or do his normal little cutback that he does. He just kind of got it and trotted out of bounds. And then Josh gets sacked by Calvin Noy on this
Van
one
Noy had
where,
himself a day.
oh,
He was all over the place.
3 straight games of 2 sacks.
Yeah.
And now Sam Martin had his best punt of the game for 59 yards, but it didn't really matter. And this was the whole point of being in those spots where, you know, you don't have it when it's 4th and 15. You don't have a chance. You don't have a choice. You had a choice on these other ones when your defense needed your offense to stay on the field. Your defense couldn't afford for you to go 3 and out, and you went back and
not good stuff.
A shot. Yeah.
Silver lining, didn't allow the Ravens to double dip on them at the half here. Like they did get some stops.
Yeah, so there's a couple different points where they had some chances, and at this point, the reason I said that for all intents and purposes was us because they actually gave themselves a shot. So from here, the Ravens are driving again, about to go down 28-3. Big play to Rashad Bateman where it really felt kind of over. And then all of a sudden, Lamar Jackson's running. He's actually running, you know, for a decent chunk of yards. But Dorian Williams punches it out, makes a nice play, gets it out. Balen Spector falls on it, and now you're okay. Hey, we got a little something going here. This is feeling, you know, pretty good. We get a weird free first down because usually a really sharp coach that's on top of these things, John Harbaugh, calls a second back-to-back timeout and gets a delay a game.
That was a tough one because that was after an injury, and he didn't call the timeout, and they were taking the timeout away, so it counted. He saw it immediately. The look on his face was just like, oh, dummy.
He caught himself instantly. Yeah. They're like, oh, crap, I'm not allowed to do that. And it's 4th and 2. And we were going for that. Hey, I'll give Sean that one. We were going for it. On that one, we were lined up to go for it.
Yeah.
So we get it. And now it feels like, oh, hey, maybe they're, you know, maybe they're going to kind of unravel a little bit if we get a little something here. And then we go try to take a deep shot to Hollins where there's a miscommunication. Hollins didn't keep running. And then this one
was this Coleman drop.
Was the Coleman drop where it was painfully reminiscent to the Stephon Diggs one against the Chiefs in the playoffs.
And this is the one that he's drafted to catch, right? Like
correct. This is exactly where you're at. It was, you know, from the 50-yard line, over 30 yards is going to put us at about the 12-yard line if he catches it. He's perfectly positioned. Josh puts it exactly in the spot. This is why you're supposed to go get that ball, and misses it. And then, you know, getting pressured on the 3rd and 10, you pretty much have to throw it away. And now just wasted this free moment from the Ravens, and then they kind of let the clock run out and just
the first half.
Take it into half.
Missed
wasted the opportunity.
Wasted opportunities. Not taking advantage of things that you typically do. Just didn't deserve to be in the game at the end of the first half. Like you said, the blame was multiple. It's all over that first half. Piled on McDermott for the decisions a lot, but there's a lot of execution problems buried in that first half too.
Yeah. So
they talked to him at halftime, man. Greg, this is a tough one for me about digesting this game because like we're deflated 21-3. Like Bill's Twitter's not in a good spot. Discord,
a lot of teams are going
to
tuck their tail and just pack it in for the week. And
that's what I'm asking is like, how do you respond to that? And what does this team look like? Because that record existed. We hadn't been here for a long time, and they responded really well, Greg.
So I'm going to use your sneaky move, and I'm going to cheat, and we're going to combine a couple of these into our West Her drive of the game because they gave themselves a shot. So they come out. Everybody's worried, okay, the Ravens are going to put this game away. We get a really nice 3 and out. Great blitz on first down. Dorian Williams gets there, pretty much gets a sack, but forces Lamar into the throwaway for the intentional grounding. So we get the sack benefit. Now it's 2nd and 24. Actually have some nice run support coming up from Cole Bishop, where Justice Hill only gets 4 yards. Every other time he touched the ball, he was escaping forever. And then nice coverage on an incomplete deep shot to Zay Flowers. We get the 3 and out. They only run 50 seconds off the clock, and we get the ball back. And now we finally get kind of a little bit of the magic here. You know, the first 2 plays are pretty much the same as the first half, just scrambling. And the 3rd down play, was about the same, but we get that miraculous Josh running out of bounds.
1 foot out of
Spots.
bounds.
Oh, literally, like as he's jumping out of bounds, and Josh launches the ball across, and Shakir almost takes it in himself. He actually cuts back here, so that gave me again a little bit of hope that we have that same Shakir back. And then in the first play down there, Ty Johnson sprints to the end zone, punches it in, like, hey, all right, it's 21-10. We're feeling pretty good. We got reason to be
3 minutes off the clock.
confident here.
Yeah. We just made a swing. You made a big punch. Exactly what you need.
Yeah, and then we go in, they get it back again. We get a false start from them, so we get them back behind the sticks again. It's 2nd and 10. Then we stuff Derrick Henry, I think, with the first negative play of the game at that point, basically. And Rousseau and Williams stuff him there. Then we get another sack. Balin Spector actually gets Lamar this time and takes him down. We get another basic 3-and-out with the penalty. It was a 3-and-out, and get it back. And like, hey, we're in this. Like, they have given up big leads. They gave up a 10-point lead to the Raiders. They almost gave up a 28-3 lead to the Cowboys. Those seeds of doubt, are kind of spiraling in their mind. They're having to go and like reassure everybody on the sideline. And we get into this spot. Okay, we try to take a shot on first down, which I liked. We brought in a jumbo set. They're going to try to run play action and take a deep shot. It doesn't work. Then we get a gorgeous back shoulder play to Keon Coleman, rebuild some of his confidence, get it 4 yards to Cook, 6 yards to Cook again, get the first down, get another first down, and now they line up for a play where Josh is lined up as a receiver about 5 yards deep, but out wide. Curtis Samuel is the quarterback getting the direct snap. Curtis Samuel gets it, runs like a sweep as the direct snap with a pitch back to Josh, which the Ravens kind of seem to see coming or were prepared for in some way. Josh tries to uncork it. I'm actually super curious to see the all 22 when this comes out. I want to see what was downfield. Like, was the secondary prepared or did the D-line save them? Like, was it going to be open for a touchdown if Josh was able to get it off here? Because Kyle Van Noy barely reaches out and gets Josh's hand before the ball goes and knocks it out of his hand. Kyle Hamilton picks it up for the fumble recovery here. Everyone loses their mind. Every single trick play in the history of the NFL has been questioned as too cute and why at that time when it doesn't work. And every single trick play in the history of the NFL that's worked, no one has ever questioned the timing of when they did it. It's a purely results-based thing. When it works, it's awesome, and you're the smartest man that's ever lived. When it doesn't, you're too cute, and why did we do it there? The offense is working and moving its way down the field already. You didn't need to do that. I don't love it. I would have liked there, but we just talked about the fact that they put up 3 points in the entire first half. They weren't matriculating the ball down the field. The previous drive, they had only scored because Josh uncorked a 52-yard pass as he was jumping out of bounds. So anybody who's trying to say, oh, the regular plays were working, no, the hell they weren't. We were getting dominated in this game. So there was a reason to run a trick play. It just sucks that it didn't work.
It's not a good you haven't done anything to set this play up. Trick plays only work when you work to set up a play. And this is we've never even seen this formation. I don't know, maybe that's the time to run it. Hindsight could be definitely playing a role here. I hated everything about it. I want those plays. I loved when Daboll put those plays, but I don't know that it's in this.
We've set up the orbit motion stuff. We've set up some of those things that worked on some of the other fourth down plays. We haven't done any direct snaps to Curtis Samuel to set that up.
I would have kept trying to go at some of the screen game, even though you weren't busting them early, but you were still getting 4 or 5 yards. And it's you got to kind of keep at those and work that stuff. And here I'm just trying to get into third and manageable. Honestly, it's second and seven, man.
Super easy.
It hurts. If you're somebody that doesn't believe in momentum, I think this is a exhibit A of it being real and being just ripped out of your hands in a single play. Because you had it. You had the whole stadium quiet. You had the Ravens up against the ropes. And if butterfly effect here, Greg, but God, if you end this in third and manageable, even with just a simple play, even your least favorite thing, if it's a 2nd and 7 run for 4 yards, God forbid you did something like that and you convert this drive into a touchdown, this is a totally different game. You're looking at 21-17. Bills have all the momentum. Energy is sucked out of this stadium. You've just gotten 2 stops, but instead you just hand it all back to them. The crowd's back in the game. They're feeling good. They get the ball at midfield here, just about. And then they just
It
continue
ended
to
up getting
roll
backed
back.
up because of they had their own version of the Dwayne Smoot dummy,
Sure,
where Marlon Humphrey
just
eye
punched.
gouged Dalton Kincaid, but and thus ends our West Herr drive of the game. So
it was a chance,
they had a nice
man.
chance there. They had a moment, and I mean it. Like I
that
do
shouldn't
genuinely,
get lost in this. Yeah.
No, they had a chance at that point. Like the Ravens were going to get super, super anxious. The throats were going to tighten.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to remain in the fact that if Josh gets that ball off and Kyle Van Noy is just 2 inches back and isn't able to swipe it on, Josh uncorks it and they score on that, Joe Brady is the evil genius that uncorked the awesome trick play in the moment when we needed it, and everyone is celebrating because no trick play that worked has ever been questioned for the timing or being too cute. It's purely results based. Either it works and you're awesome, or it doesn't and you're an idiot. But our offense was not matriculating the ball down the field at that point. So calling a trick play in that moment made sense. It just didn't work.
Yeah, I don't agree. But I agree that it's results based, but I don't agree that is just not for me, that is not the timing to do it. You got to lean into that. You're going to break the natural, like there were opportunities within the offense. It was just an execution thing, and you got to rely on your players to execute some of those plays. And then
Sure.
they got
there were 6 drives of evidence that you weren't going to execute your way down the field.
But there were
6 drives.
Yeah. I think you still trust in your players to be able to get into second and manageable, and for Kincaid to catch a ball or somebody to make a play, versus having to pull out the bag of tricks. For me, trick plays are like, hey, we're up by a little bit and we want to bust this game out. It's not like, hey, I need to make this shot to get back in. That possession was very costly for you, and it's so high variance. You either get the big play and continue on, and that's great, or you just lose all the momentum. And to me, that's too big of a risk reward in that moment.
Yeah. And, honestly, Josh running full speed and leaping out of bounds as he throws the ball back across his body isn't terribly different than a trick play. It's still an incredibly high variance, chance that we're taking as they're going through there. And that's the only thing that had worked so far tonight. Literally was the only thing that had worked on offense so far that night. But it didn't work. So it doesn't matter. He's an idiot because it didn't work. And it almost, I was worried that we had another Josh UCL injury. Luckily, it didn't. It was more the Travis Jones hit. Yeah, he just got crushed by Travis Jones, and I don't know, got the wind knocked out of him, or just like stirred around his innards. I don't know exactly what it was, but he seemed fine getting back in the game. He just landed really hard.
Yeah.
The same thing. Dalton Kincaid got poked in the eye, and here the real, this was kind of the dagger.
My notes drifted off from there.
Yeah, that here they had a chance. If they make it 21-17, like it's a totally
ball game.
Matter of fact, I actually think the Bills would win if they went down and scored in that moment. I think that all of that "here we go again" kind of momentum that the Ravens have had now multiple times this year would have really unraveled.
Yeah. Well, and you're just one play away. Yeah. At that point, like the ball bounces funny, and you're in that back and you're taking the lead in that game. And that's all you need is a chance. And they didn't get it. And kudos to the Ravens, though, for not allowing them to have a second opportunity to get back in this game after that. They put it away. So good on them.
Yeah. Because here they go right back down, punch the ball right down our throat, move it. We then do get the ball back and move the ball a little bit, get a nice play to Kincaid, probably the nicest offensive play that we like in structure offensive play we had. Then another nice back corner or back shoulder throw to Keon Coleman, get ourselves more into position, but now get sacked again on a really ugly one that Josh needed to be able to throw away. He tried to keep it alive and ended up getting dragged down by Owe, pushed it back into a 48-yard field goal versus being in position to really need to go for it. And now not only do we add the fact that we got just kind of destroyed in this game, we now planted the seed of, oh, good, Tyler Bass missed a field goal with a pretty nasty duck hook left. So now that's planted back in his mind here because we needed to add more to tonight's fun. Now we just, poked a hole in what we had slowly rebuilt in Tyler Bass's confidence. Like the one sounded like it was a block. Most of this, he had made almost all the kicks this year, had made some really nice ones earlier, like striped a 50-yarder dead center, had slowly rebuilt a little bit of confidence, and now boom, right back to zero. Nasty duck hook miss with no other real explanation. There was no terrible pressure or block or anything. That one was purely on him because we needed to add something else. And then the rest of the game ended punt, 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 punt. So I don't really care.
Yeah, McDermott had that challenge in there that really pissed me off because I just wanted the game to end, and it was the right thing to do. And he should definitely go
an accurate challenge. But the last time Josh Allen was in, where we did go 3 and out after multiple deep shots just for fun, and I looked down and I was like, "Oh my God, there's 11 minutes left in this game." And it was 35-10, and we had just punted it away, and I didn't want Josh to come back in the game, and I literally just said out loud, "Oh my God, there's 11 minutes left in this game."
Yeah, I was ready for it to wrap up. I was getting
I'm ready for the show to wrap up.
I was making the sign about how my face felt. So, that's pretty much how it went the rest of the night. Yeah, took a little longer for that game to end than it should have, but hey, man, there's nights like this. Every team in the NFL is going to have one. No one was going 17-0 this year.
Yeah,
you just got to freaking pack this up from Baltimore, get home, and wipe it off.
I would have loved a tough miss where, like, oh man, I can't believe Justin Tucker made that game-winning field goal. That stinks. Not getting our teeth kicked in. That sucks.
Yeah,
making me question McDermott. Not making me question Bass.
Yeah. We knew we were going to have one of these, right? Though, like. One, it was just a matter of time.
Maybe not one of these, but yeah,
everyone gets one though. Like we just had that record of how many 43 games without losing by 6 or more. Like, and again, this is four or five plays of the ball going the other way where it's a 1-score game, and it's just like a typical Bills game where it's like, man, they made some dumb mistakes, but they were in it, and it's not that big of a loss. Instead, those 4 or 5 plays don't go your way. None of these plays really end up going your way, and it ends up looking like a much worse blowout than it really was. And again, 3 minutes into the third quarter, you thought you had a game, and it just got back out of control too quick.
Yeah, so, it's some silver linings here as we wrap up. The Bills are still in sole possession of first place in the AFC East because the Jets lost to the Broncos earlier today. That's fun. We get to watch the Dolphins tomorrow night, get to play with Tyler Huntley as their new starting quarterback. We do have an important game next week against the Houston Texans, the Stephon Diggs revenge game. That'll be interesting to see. And we did see 3 guys on the sideline hanging out, looking relatively athletic and spry. No one wearing nasty harnesses or anything like that, which was Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard, and Taron Johnson, Taron Johnson and Terrell Bernard seem relatively imminent to their return. I know Terrell Bernard told Joe Biscaglia that he was hoping to play week 5.
For this game.
It sounds like Taron Johnson's only a week or 2 behind that. So it seems like we're going to have
some of the cavalry
more than half the season with 2 of our most important players back. And it sounds like Matt Milano is trending to be able to return later this season, probably more towards the holidays, probably a December type return to be able to go back in there. And you never know. Maybe the Taylor Rapp concussion. Maybe it's time to call Micah Hyde. I don't know. When do we break that glass in case of emergency? I'm just grasping for
I don't think that
straws here. Silver linings.
Yeah, we'll see. They got to lick some wounds here, and then get back on it and go, because Texans had some flaws to them today, but they got a handful. This is good. This is a
Nico
good
Collins is a problem.
Yeah,
Stephon Diggs is going to want to. He's going to want to play really good in this game. He's going to want to.
They're going to want to play good for him. The shine hasn't worn off for the Texans. There's going to be some motivation there. So this is going to be an interesting one going into. And Bill's got to pull up their pants, put their big point pants on, and they got a couple of tough games that teams looking to make a name for themselves in the AFC coming right up here.
I just saw this from DLA here. Best part of the game was Codrington throwing up grass to test the wind, like he's hitting an approach shot into a narrow green. I
He
will
almost
say,
muffed that one though. That whoo got
yeah,
me a
I
little
like
bit.
Codrington. He had good decision making and most of even in that spot. I hate it when guys muff that and they try to like
Do
run and
something with
pick it
it.
up to
Yeah,
continue returning it. I liked it that he
get
just
on
covered
it.
the ball,
Yeah,
got there. He made some good decisions in a couple spots. So yeah, he's still good by me, even
yeah,
though
yeah.
today was a weird day there was like 5 muff kicks earlier today in the in game. So at
Wacky.
least he jumped on that one.
Kept his. Yeah.
All right. Any final things for the people?
No, man, it's gonna be a long
Chad's right
week.
here. Press that like button. Even if you don't like the result, you could like us.
Nah,
You could help us out. Press the like button
you don't even have to
here.
like us. Just we did this. It's hard to come due after a loss. So
Give us credit for doing this.
yeah, we showed up. Yeah.
All right, guys. We did it here. We appreciate all of your time and everybody here. The chat was great tonight. You guys were painfully civil. We appreciate you being as reasonable as possible. You know, the good news is I think Michael just said if we just keep going 3-1, we'll end 13-4 and probably the number 1 seed
Let's
in
do
the
that.
league. So we should do that, and that would mean that we'll start with our first of the next 3 wins next week at Houston.
Yeah.
So if you want to have some fun with that, you can come talk to us Wednesday night with our friend Brett Coleman,
Yeah.
who will be joining us to break down the Houston game. We'll be going through and getting ready for that. Make sure you check out all the other stuff. I'm looking forward to the breakdown here. I want to see what Eric and Anthony find in the film room. Talk to all the other guys. Make sure you check out all the content here at Cover One. But on behalf of awesome producer Chris Kepner and Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You have been listening to this fantastic show powered by BetUS. Please make sure that our friends over at BetUS Sportsbook and Casino encourage you to please gamble responsibly. All right. Thank you, guys. We are